Lisa, we're looking for Lisa. She's that way. Restroom. Okay, let's all move towards the hall with the restroom. Out. All right. If you haven't figured it out, Alex and I have the name tag on. But welcome to the first annual John Roberts weekend. Oh, is that not right? Oh, I guess I've given something away. Sorry about that. Axel, are you here? Somewhere? Doing sound. There you are. Okay, good. Well, I welcome everyone on behalf of Lisa Preston. Of course, you know Lisa. If you don't, please say hello. John's longtime collaborator in music and in love and in life. And without Lisa, of course, we wouldn't have had John at times, and their relationship was great. John loved you, Lisa. I can tell you from every time I was with John, he spoke about you and your support for him. It was very, very special relationship. I think other people have similar stories. So, we have maybe not long enough. We have 2 bits tonight, and we'll try to get through everything. This is a space that we thank the church, Universalist Church, where John performed, right in the middle, during the Rebels performance too. Isn't that right, David? Well, that's what I've been told, so we'll go with that. But I thank you, David. That's an intro to you. David Barner, who lives here, is a member of the Bookingburg team. He's also one of our physicians on staff tonight, if anyone needs that. For helping me, along with Joy Bennett in the beginning, to organize this event. As we got going, Andy Davis and Fred Breunig joined in the effort, and then Lisa joined in as well, and here we are. And thank you all for coming and volunteering before, during, and hopefully after as well. Working with Andy Davis and Fred Breunig, I had an insight to what it was to be a member of the Brattleboro Boys Club, Noel, and so that was pretty cool. Thank you, Fred and Andy, for that process. So many people couldn't be here today and passed on their best wishes to you, Lisa, to all of us. Interestingly, some of us just Thursday night attended a concert with Martin Carthy and Eliza Carthy, and I spoke to Martin afterwards, and I mentioned John's name, and his eyes lit up, and he said, "What a wonderful man, and what a wonderful musician, and that he would be thinking of us all today." That's pretty cool. Thank you to Katy German here and Craig Metzner from CDSS. Your support and your We'll hear from Katy later, but please say hello to both of them. Craig, I think, might be the furthest traveling from California here today. Hi, Julie. I did some crude math, and my son Axel, forgive me, but by my estimate, in this room, we're recording this for future use, but in this room, I think we have collectively something like 3,000 to 4,000 years, maybe more, of experience with John Roberts. So we're not going to get through everything tonight. That's absolutely true. You know where the exits are. I am a firefighter and also a medic, so watch out for the cords. We have some chairs which do violate fire rules. Josh, don't pay any attention. But just be careful. And for each other. So why are we here? We're here, of course, to honor John's contributions to our community, the broad community of music, dance, and of life that he helped build each of those communities and helped maintain for decades. We're here to smile, of course, to sing, maybe dance if we can, to laugh and grieve just a little bit. It's okay. That's what we do. John was so great after 9/11 when we lost 2 Marlboro Morris dancers. He was there for us when we lost another of our friends from the Marlboro Morris team, Will Fielding. And then when Tony passed, he was there for us as well, as were all of you. But John understood what these moments were about and would have, I think, without any disagreement, wanted us to be here today. And next year when we do the second. He knew the date. He knew the date. So his date, by the way, apologies. He on the program, January 30th is when he passed away. My error. But his birthday was May 5th. So happy birthday, John. Happy birthday to Jim Voorhees, who's in the audience. Happy birthday to my late father, who knew John very well, also May 5th. So May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, always think of John Roberts, John Naar, and Jim Voorhees, and anyone else. Amazingly, right, a musician beyond compare. Festivals up and down the East Coast, the West Coast, in between trips to England and other places, perhaps even New York City. John took us back, at least me, but I think all of us, in time. He took us to jolly old England, to Portugal, Italy, France, and Spain. We traveled wonderfully to the Emerald Isles and to tough and beautiful places alike. He taught us that Hamlet loved his mummy, that time was a precious thing, that ale was confounding, and that the sea was a tough place. We learned of great ships, the Diamond, the Flying Dutchman, the Montrose, the Golden Vanity. We learned that the cure for many things was a bottle of rum. Yes. Or not. He asked if we had opened the pane to pop out the flame to see how the wind would blow. John was a jolly good fellow. He was also a jolly tinker, and goodness, he was a little beggarman. He was Dick Turpin, and he met, amazingly, Captain Farrell on Kilgarry. He amazed us with his language skills by introducing us to the Campanero, the Bateau, and Captain de Ferro. He set his musical talents, music from England, Ireland, Wales, Appalachia. The concertina, the guitar, the banjo, the button accordion, other things. How did he make the most African-American instrument, the banjo, work for Irish and English and Scottish and British Isles music so perfectly? It's a thing to behold. Listen to his music over and over again. That's our responsibility, I think, to do that and to remember what an amazing person he was. Songs of the Sea, where John really found his home, I think. I got to see John perform on an old Scottish sailing ship at the San Francisco Maritime Museum, the Balclutha, below the deck, with the boat moving back and forth, and the cold, musty salt air, and the sound of gulls and seals. This was John's place, clearly. It was wonderful to see him in that environment. Just a few more things. My first exposure, and I use that term advisedly, to John was when I was 14 at the Clearwater Festival, Heat Seekers Festival. And I got off the shuttle bus, and John and Fred and Larry Becker over here, and a couple other people, Tony, were dancing the highly suggestive dance, Maiden's Prayer. I had never seen Morris dancing. I had never seen John, Tony. They sang later that day. I was impressed as a young man. 2 years later, there I was as a student at Marlborough College, Breunig, dancing in the sand across from John. It's like it was nothing. That was just the way it was. He was a great dancer with a really strong stick strike. Let me tell you. When we danced to his music, as Morris dancers and perhaps other dancers as well, country dancers and maybe contra dancing, Haley dancing, but as a Morris dancer and as Morris dancers, we always knew that he had our back as a musician. He understood dance and music like no one else. A few times I got to travel with John on very long road trips, like 12 hours. We talked about music, about dance, about beer, about politics. Wow, great to be back. I got to host him in a couple of small concerts. And he had an open invitation to our new concert series that Axel, my son, and Karen, my wife, run in Alexandria. And he said to that invitation, he said, well, Alex, you have Frankie Gavin and Billy McComiskey, all these great Irish musicians. I'm not up to them, up to theirs. And I said, John, you played with them, and you are. And he was that good. He played with those types in the Irish music world. I learned just recently with Mick Maloney's group collective, with people coming in and out called the Greenfields of America. Amazing musicians. Eileen Ivers said to me last summer about John Roberts when I told her about this award that was coming. I said, how the music was just, you guys were so good. And she said, people like John and the others were just great musicians, and when we got together, we didn't need to practice. It just worked out. And that was John. He could play anytime with anyone. John's little secret album of Irish pub songs, how many people know of it? Okay, the rest of you, we need to make it available, and you need to put it in your, I know you might not have a CD player. It's on Bandcamp. Thank you, Chris. He loved politics, he loved the English language, sport, Indian food, and being with friends. So here we are, musician, our talented, the talented, our friend. The country dance, in our communities of folk stuff, we don't have a lot of opportunities, or we don't make them, to acknowledge great talent. This Country Dance and Song Society's Lifetime Contribution Award seemed like the perfect chance to recognize John's 6+ decades of contribution. Without John, there wouldn't have been John and Tony, who would be here tonight. There would have been lots of things and lots of combinations of music and dance. John's modest support of Tony's often leading is really amazing when you go back and listen. As I mentioned earlier, I've been listening to John a lot. Coming up to this event before he died, but certainly since. It's notable, and I recognize that other people in this room have received that same award that John will be getting tonight. So Andy Davis, Brad Foster, Jim Morrison, Jeff Warner emailed me this morning asking to pass on his regards to everyone and to you, Lisa. Tony Barrett, also an awardee, wrote in support of John's receiving the same award. I think you read maybe in the CDSS newsletter when John was told he got this award, and I talked to him for the first time after he knew. He said, "But Alex, it's just my friends who nominated me." And I said, "But John, that's the bloody point." He got it, And I think, Lisa, when we talked on the phone, the three of us, and we talked about having this event with John present, that he was genuinely excited to be here with you and to accept that award in front of you and to say thank you. I'm almost at the end. I am at the end. I'll turn it over to my good friend, David Jones and Andy.
We wrote this song with the wonderful Dick Swain. He set the music to a poem he found, and he made it as a present for Gordon Locke at Gordon's wedding. And Gordon sang it at the memorial for Dick and Nan. And now I'm going to sing it to you, for John, and I hope you'll join in. I have done my share of carving, figureheads of weight design, for the olives and the ruddocks, and the famous Blackthorn line, the rigatines and larks and glitters, brigs and schooners lithe and tall, but the bounding Marco Polo was the flower of them all. While my hands are steady, while my eyes are good, I will carve the music of the wind into the wood. I can see that white-winged clipper reeling on the sculling clouds, tramping down a hazy skyline with the northern in the shrouds. I can feel her lines of beauty, see her fleck with spume and brine, as she drives her slumbers under, and that figurehead of mine. While my hands are steady, while my eyes are blue, I will carve the music of the wind into the wood. Was of seasoned pine I made it, clear from out of Hartford board, from the finest piece of timber, from the mast-monged on straight shore. Every bite of axe or chisel, every ringing mallet word, brought from out that block of timber all the spirit that I felt. While my hands are steady, while my eyes are blue, I will carve the music of the wind into the wood. I have read of Marco Polo till his daring deeds were mine, and I see them all a-glowing in that balsam-scented pine. So his eyes are light with purpose, facing every vagrant breeze, soaring, lilting, free and careless over all the seven seas. While my hands are steady, while my eyes are blue, I will carve the music of the wind into the wood. That was how I did my carving, beat of heart and stroke of hand, putting into life and action all the purpose that I planned. Flowing robes and wind-tossed dresses, forms of beauty, strength, design. I saw them all and carved them in that figurehead of mine. While my hands are steady, while my eyes are blue, I will carve the music of the wind into the wood. And when my hands teeth, while my hands are steady, while my eyes are good, I will carve music of the wind into the wood. While my hands are steady, while my eyes are good, I will carve the music of the wind into the wood.
Good afternoon. And it is a good afternoon. A week of rain and then good scheduling, John. So I was listening carefully to Alex there and try to not repeat anything he said. But John is a big canvas to work on. When John found out he had received this award, his response to me was a plaintive, "But why?" Well, his enduring modesty was showing through. We all took the bait and made it quite clear to him that his many contributions were significant and long-lasting. I think we convinced him. But it's also satisfying to be here. It's bittersweet to be here today, but very satisfying to be with all of you. I know that everyone here has been touched by John's genius, and I don't use the word lightly. As a singer, an intuitive arranger, a dance musician, a dancer, a passionate historian of the songs he sang, a clever wit, a generous purveyor of obscure but essential knowledge. Some folks can tell a good, entertaining story, but John actually knew the backstories of these songs, and he loved to share them. I recently discovered that between 2000 and 2024, John posted about 1,200 times on mudcat.org. Anyone familiar with that website? It's a great source of conversation about traditional music. That's about 4 times a week. His comments are always helpful, always trying to move the conversation forward while providing tidbits of knowledge and suggestions on how to go deeper. Earlier this week, I spent some time with John. I listened again to the interview he did with the Vermont Folklife Center in 2023. Thank you to Mary Wesley and Susan Creighton for providing the opportunity for John to tell his own story. The original topic of the interview was intended to be his recently passed singing partner, Tony Barron. But Susan and Mary wisely said, "John, the stage is yours. Tell your story." And he did. Speaking without notes, eloquently he relates his journey from the English Midlands, teaching English and exploring in India, coming to America to study at Cornell, meeting Tony, this is all shortened, an endless number of anecdotes about their adventures, learning to sing songs alone and then together, overcoming stage jitters, traveling across America, meeting people he would run into people like, anyway, those names will come to my brain. I'm going to try not to improvise because I can't. Okay. And discovering that he and Tony had gathered a large number of enthusiastic fans in their wake. It reads like an old Jack tale, with John playing the good-hearted adventurer, doing what was needed to bring him closer to his fortune in song, dance, and story, all while trying to get an education and make a living. He also discovered that many of the songs from his own homeland were quite alive and well in American variations, and he commented on that, how much he discovered of his own country here. I want to share a few bits that really stick with me. When asked what drew him to traditional song originally, in his teenage years, he did not hesitate. The accessibility of it. You know how John spoke. The accessibility of it. He's a good speaker of English. Though John's performances are nuanced, skilled, and beautifully expressive, one does get the feeling, listening to his natural presentation, I could almost do that. Of course, one quickly discovers it's going to require a commitment, practice, and deep love of the music to move into his orbit. But John made each performance a welcoming experience. He got connected to his local folk scene in a folk club that met in a boathouse when he was a young man. And it was a participatory club for singers of all abilities. And I think of John out on the Harriman Reservoir singing for the tourists up in Wilmington, Vermont. He wasn't hanging out with the folk crowd, and I think he originally made that Irish pub sing collection to sell on the boat. So he had a relation. The sea songs came naturally. The boathouse, you get it, the Harriman. Spent a lot of time on boats. Later, when John and Tony encountered Morris dancing, John talks about how he had to learn the Anglo because he needed that balance for the Morris. And practicality, it turns out, was one of his main drivers, and I may be the first person to ever describe John as practical. He talks in the interview about singing in pubs with Tony, often a cappella, and then realizing that harmony was needed. So John invented his own approach to two-part harmony. It was strong and creative and always in service of the song, not showing off some pyrotechnic ability he had. Was always in the service of the song. And he sang as if each singing of the song was the most important time he would ever have a chance to sing it. That intensity was the first thing I noticed back in the 1970s hearing John in concert. Those hands and elbows making sure the song moved forward with just the right tempo, the lilt and the energy. Being that kind of singing presence for hundreds and thousands of people over the years is a contribution in the best sense of the word, to bring together and add to. John was a master at backing up his own singing and the singing of others. On banjo, guitar, concertinas, he added just the right amount of support. His performances and recordings were in sync. What you heard was what you got. You know, his albums sound just like him doing his singing. There was not a fancy arrangement. It was John doing his thing. When David was singing, I was thinking the carving of the figureheads. John's craft at engraving music was much like that. He brought his incredible meticulousness to presenting engraved music, always using the oldest music software he could get away with. He was always sharing software with me, and then I realized none of this stuff is supported. I sort of bought my own. But he was very generous with that. He knew how to lay out a song on a piece of paper. John's wit was a delight. He loved words, and this was reflected in his ability to present songs so convincingly. He always loved to remind us that new is pronounced new, not new, new. He was very, very sensitive to vowel sounds. Wit is more than humor, of course. It refers to understanding, to intellect, to knowledge and awareness. That's a lot for such a small word, don't you think? Wit. It's in Beowulf. The word wit hasn't changed much over the years. He once shared a haiku with us. You probably know it, but he got a delight in sharing it once at Pinewoods with me. Writing a poem with 17 syllables is very difficult. Once when it had been raining for days, I heard that Tony thought out loud, I wonder if it will stop raining, to which John replied, I believe the word is abdicate. Some of the stuff will hit you later. Be careful on the drive home. The years that Fred and Tony, John, and I traveled about doing No I'll Sing Me Clear were a highlight, a delight of my life. I don't ever remember arguing. I remember driving once through a blizzard to Derby Line. It was about as argumentative as it got, and I think John might have said to Tony at one point, so what did you negotiate for a fee for this concert in the church hall of a Canadian border that we're driving 3 hours through the snow for? To which Tony replied, well, she was awfully nice on the phone. And that pretty much was the end of the argument. That was it. There was a bit of sincere grumbling every now and then, but throughout those years, we've all just leaned into it with camaraderie and commitment. The Mummers play, always with John singing the calling on song, was created with minimal rehearsal. We were still writing it in the van based on reading the New York Times. Once after a thorough reading from the New York Times on Bernie Madoff, when that story broke on a weekend, there was a moment of just pondering how someone could do all that, and then John simply said, Madoff? In humor and knowledge, the singing of heartbreaking ballads, frailing a banjo, playing for Morris dance, our friend John was a gentleman, a scholar, a friend of so many, and a singer's singer. That's a quote from Ian Robb, a singer's singer. A quote from that Vermont Folklife interview. This is John speaking. I sing folk songs because I like them, and I like the history behind them and everything else, but I don't have a mission. Well, John, mission accomplished. That pretty much says it for me. Here's a bit of poetry I wrote. Then spring again defeats the mire, and who could blame us leaping higher? A song is but our heart's desire, and friendship the truest choir. So rest well, dear friend John.
It's an honor to be here. My name is Sara Grey, and I've been involved in traditional music for so many years I can't even count them. And it was John who encouraged me to go to Britain back in 1970. I taught John to play banjo, and I have never, ever experienced a better student in my entire life. He was absolutely phenomenal, and last year at Essex Festival, the Maritime Festival, we sat down together and he said, "Oh, Sarah," he said, you're doing this special style of two-finger picking," because I taught him to frail and to play a partial melody, and he just picked it up like a duck takes to water. And this two-finger style that I had developed over the last several years, he said, "Would you show me that?" And we sat down at the picnic table, and within a half hour he was playing, and I will play the song I played and taught him tonight. What I would like to say is that if it hadn't been for John, I don't know that I would have actually taken up. I spent 46 years in Scotland, and in those years it was John who had encouraged me to go. He knew that I was so interested in the migration of old songs across the Atlantic, and he gave me that impetus to go and collect and research these old songs from all over, from Ireland, from Scotland mostly, and from England, of course, too. And if it hadn't been his motivation, I just don't know whether I would have even gone. And I was there for 46 years. And I've only been back now for about 10. But the interesting thing is that when I was in Britain, John was not known at all. He came from Kidderminster in the northwest part of England, and he was a resident singer at the Kidderminster Folk Club. It was really, I think one of you mentioned that it was a boathouse, and it was converted into a folk club right on the river, and he was a resident singer there, but no one knew his talents, absolutely no one. And I don't think it bothered him. He wasn't egotistical in any way, and so he came over to this country with so little background in singing in Great Britain. To me, this is the biggest irony, is that they did not know what they were losing when he left Great Britain. And we are so lucky to have had him here. Thank you.
I first met John in 1972 when he and Tony came to Marlborough College to share one position in psychology. They actually shared half a position with their friend Tom Tolino, who was a classmate of theirs at Cornell. And and then Tony and I got married, and so I had a lot of time with John. By 1974, John and Tony had been to Pinewoods Camp. Tony had been bitten by the Morris bug, and he decided he had to have a team at Marlborough College. And he did. And John was a dancer, but also he was the musician, because he was the only musician. And he was an amazing musician. I mean, what a musician. Not only was he a musician, but as Alex said, he understood the dance. He listened to what Tony was trying to teach, and he was able to make what Tony wanted the dancers to do visible in the music, so that when you heard the music John was playing, you knew how the dance was going to be. You knew what dance it was, and you knew what you were supposed to do as a dancer. He was pretty amazing. Tony and John were a real team. They were an incomparable singing duo. Tony would tell the story as he sung the song, but John, with his rich, deep voice and his complicated harmonies, John was the one who added the musicality to the performance. He was a perfect complement in so many ways. John was the ultimate straight man to Tony's parlays, so much so that at the end of the performance, you often came away wondering who actually was funnier. I'm going to end with a short example of John's wit, as told to me by Tony after returning home from a long tour, and actually you did hear a snippet of this from Andy Davis. So it had been raining. It was raining for hours and hours and days. It was late at night. Tony was at the wheel. John was taking a quick cat nap. Tony had been aquaplaning and trying to see the road through wipers that would not go fast enough, and he was tired. And at some point, in frustration with the situation, Tony said in a loud voice, "Stop raining!" Without missing a beat, John opened one eye, turned to Tony, and said, quite sensibly, "I believe the word you were looking for is abdicate." Rest in peace, John. We will remember you with great fondness.
So imagine, if you will, an 11-year-old me being born and raised on the North Shore of Long Island, recovering nicely, thank you. And there was an incredible thing called the Guitar Workshop, and a place in Roslyn, New York called My Father's Place. such luminaries as little-known bands you never would have heard of. It was a rock club like Bruce Springsteen and the Police all got their starts there. But on Sunday, the Guitar Workshop would bring in folk music. And that was the first time back in 1973 when I met John and Tony. They were doing maritime music with a feel that had never been done before. Or actually was in the process of being done in the early 70s. And I got that album at the age of 11, had them sign it, and they got into an argument as to which one on the cover, because there's one of the sailor going, "You want me to go up there?" and the officer telling him, and which one should they sign? And that album still hangs outside my studio. But it became problematic when, if you're familiar with that album, 11-year-old me went around the neighborhood singing some of these songs. For some reason, the mothers of the neighborhood took umbrage. And this was one of them. As I walked out on South Street, a fair maid I did meet, who asked me then to see her home. She lived on 14th Street, and away, Johnny, my dear honey. Oh, you New York girls, you love us for our money. Said, my dear young lady, I'm a stranger here in town. I left my ship just yesterday, from Liverpool I was bound. And away, Johnny, my dear honey. Oh, you New York girls, you love us for our money. She said, come with me, my dearie, and I'll stand you a treat. I'll buy you rum and brandy, dear, and tab-nabs for to eat. And away, Johnny, my dear honey. Oh, you New York girls, you love us for our money. When we got to 14th Street, we stopped at number 4. Her mother and her sister came to greet us at the door. And away, Johnny, my dear honey. Oh, you New York girls, you love us for our money. When we got inside the house, the drinks was handed round. The liquor was so awful strong, my head went round and round. And away, Johnny, my dear honey. Oh, you New York girls, you love us for our money. Oh, next morning when I awoke, I had an aching head. There was I, Jack, all alone, starting naked on the bed. And away, Johnny, my dear honey. Oh, you New York girls, you love us for our money. As I looked all around the room, but nothing could I see but a lady's shift and pantaloon, not worth a damn to me. And away, Johnny, my dear honey. Oh, you New York girls, you love us for our money. With a flour barrel for a suit, I wished I'd never been born. A boarding master picked me up and shipped me round Cape Horn. And away, you Johnny, my dear honey. Oh, you New York girls, you love us for our money. So come all you bully sailor boys, take warning when ashore, or else you'll meet some charming gal who's not very nice at all. And away, you Johnny, my dear honey. Oh, you New York girls, you love us for our money. Why, your hard and cash shall disappear, your rigging boots as well. For Yankee gals are tougher than the other side of hell. And away, Johnny, my dear honey. Oh, you New York girls will love us for our money. And away, you Johnny, my dear honey. Oh, you New York girls will love us for our money.
Hi, everybody. Hi. Welcome to Schenectady. This is our territory here, some of you Vermont people. We've been here as long as you've been there. And we were lucky because John moved here. Yes, we were. So some of you might know my history or our history. I'm talking for Bill and myself. Bill, who has gone on before John, even though he caught John's heart attack and caught him and got him to the hospital because he knew what it was at the festival. Anyway, we moved here in 1965. And we gathered with other folk music fans in this area and formed the Pickin' and Singin' Gatherin'. When Bill became hooked on the hammered dulcimer at Fox Hollow in 1969, he decided to make an LP record in our living room, and it changed our lives. John and Tony both came to go to school at Cornell University in 1968. This is where they met. We had started a record company in 1973 with Bill's album, get ready, The Hammered Dulcimer, which we recorded on a 2-track machine in our living room. Our second album was the Dildine Family, and our third was Dudley Laufman and the Canterbury Orchestra. And our fourth, in 1974, was Mellow with Ale from the Horn with John and Tony. John's album notes are so detailed that it was clear he was a music scholar. Not only that, but his mastery of complicated lyrics, singing with almost no mistakes, in his unusual raspy voice, separated him from Tony's more dulcet tones. He was a specialist in harmony and an accomplished concertina player and banjo player, not to mention hurdy-gurdy. More than that, when you listen to him tell the story in these lengthy ballads, you leaned into every word. His delivery was so immaculate. He enjoyed maritime songs and revered the singers before him, giving credit to everyone he learned from. On his 2024 album, he states that 2 of his musical heroes were Gordon Bach and Cyril Tawney. Tony and John's first 2 albums, while they were at Cornell, Spencer the Rover, 1971, and Across the Western Ocean, in 1973, were thematic. Sets of songs in their social, cultural, and historical backgrounds and contexts. Mellow included songs they liked to sing. Another thematic album was To Welcome in the Spring, recorded live at an Old Songs concert in 1979. For me, the production of An Evening at the English Music Hall in 1972 outdid them all, filling the downstairs of the Troy Music Hall in Troy, New York, when it wasn't being used for anything else. An audience in Edwardian costume, a man dressed in white captain's uniform strolling down the aisle just before the start, and the singing of 1,200 folks in the old hall. What a night. It was worth buying all those aspidistras. I trust you know that they're a plant. And then came Noel Sing We Clear in 1980. The first album and second album were also recorded live at an Old Songs concert. And the third was recorded in our living room, which Bill now called, get ready, the Bottom 40 Recording Company at the Eldrin Fennig Folk Museum of American Ephemera. Old Songs presented Noel, the concert, beginning in 1977 until it ended on December 13, 2014, selling it out to 200 plus folks every year. They always displayed the banner that I made for the show, which still appears at the Brattleboro Christmas shows. I hope it doesn't have too many holes in it. It's in good shape. Oh, good. Yay, it'll last forever. If you still collect LPs, there are a few for a donation on the display table in the back. And I can't guarantee they're not warped, but I hope they're not. If you have an LP player or a phonograph player at home, it's sometimes worth hearing the original from the very beginning. After John and Lisa moved to Schenectady, John joined the Old Songs Board of Directors. I don't think he ever missed a meeting unless he was sick or out of town. His contribution to Old Songs was immeasurable as he emceed the festival on Saturday night concerts year after year and participated in the programming of the festival. When we had potluck meals with the board, there always had to be a bottle of Tabasco sauce for the food. He really liked Indian food and hot food. John was a calligrapher and transcribed music for song sheets for Come For To Sing and worked with Stefan Grossman for years. He borrowed all the English albums that I had when I closed Andy's front hall and made CDs of them for his collection and ours. He often made CDs for me out of old tapes of Bill's singing. His two solo albums, Sea Fever and the most current one, A Shellback Songster, are available for sale at the table up in the back. The two albums represent the best of John's solo repertoire. What a treasure he was.
Okay, I'm union.
There's so many things that I would like to, experiences that I had with John, that my wife told me I had to stick to just the very few. So I will not mention the night John ate 3 big spoonfuls of the hottest Indian red sauce that I've ever seen, or tell you what happened. And I'm not going to mention anything about all those other ones. What I do want to tell you about is how with John and a few other folks, kind of invented American Morris music. And that maybe that's a overly boastful claim, but I think that is close to the truth. Tom Kruskal, myself, John, and Tony found ourselves at Pinewoods Camp a number of years in a row and discovered that we could play music together. It actually started with midnight serenading, marching through the camp, with Tony playing snare drum. And the reviews were bad. So when we needed to play late at night, we would play in one of the cabins that we were staying in, usually Katy House, where Marnie and I, myself being on the staff of the society and all, got the privilege of staying out there. And Tom and Deborah often joined us. And John slept on the porch one year. But in those first years, we would, after everything had wound down in camp, sit there and play on the porch. And the reviews were great when it rained, because it was kind of loud for everybody to hear. But the Pinewoods porches are one of the greatest musical spaces, and it made us think we were fabulous. The material was largely English traditional music, and a big reason that we played that is because once we had gotten over the Steel Eye Span and some of that, we heard the Old Swan Band, who were Morris dance players from Oxfordshire, who played in the Morris tunes in a very fun way, and we picked up a lot of their tunes, and we played them into the night. So anyway, that was the birth of what Tom Kruskal later christened the Katy Light Orchestra, and it included John and Tony and myself and Tom Kruskal, and many years John Dexter. The most remarkable thing that happened to me, or anybody at Pinewoods Camp, was the year that our wives were not present, and they put John Roberts, John Dexter, myself, and Tom Kruskal in the cabin. And that year we played every night. John Dexter was a late arrival each night to the event, to the music. He had a kerosene lantern, probably kerosene lantern, that he used to see while walking the paths late at night. And we were sitting there playing our jolly jigs and all this stuff, and John walked in the door, raised his lantern over his head, and said, "The search goes on." He was single at the time. So eventually we published a couple of albums of that music. Tom and I owned the company, so we're on all of them. Tony's on one, John Dexter on another. We never got to the one with John Roberts, and it's sad. But when I was talking to Lisa about this whole event, I remembered that we had made a recording of those moments of us playing on a good tape recorder at Katy House, and I went and searched for it, and I found it. And it's kind of better than the albums, though I didn't edit it at all. I left the talk and all that stuff on. And I copied it, I digitized it, and made some copies, and the copies I made all disappeared, but if you get me your phone number or email or whatever you need, I can make more, and I can put them into other formats, because most people can't play CDs anymore, let alone LPs. I was really, it was great that we were able to stay in touch with John, because he toured in the Mid-Atlantic area and often stayed with us when he was there. He had Christmas time gigs at the Boar's Head Inn in Charlottesville. Moving off to Virginia made it very hard to stay in touch with all our old friends, but somehow John and I stayed together right up to the end. I talked to him about this award in December, and I told him, you know what this means, John? You're being sent out to pasture. So I could tell you about more of my memories, but I'd rather for you, what we're going to do is please engage in your own memories of your time with John Roberts, and I'm going to do the same. I may even mess up in the playing part of it, but here's a little background music for John Roberts' reminiscence. great friend, a great man, a great singer, and a great music iconographer.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so pleased to welcome you to Schenectady, the town John Roberts called home. I first became aware of John when attending a concert around the corner at Union College Memorial Chapel. As a friend and I peered down from the balcony, he suddenly and surprisingly remarked, "Oh, there's my neighbor, the folk singer," and pointed out John and the crowd below. As it happened, it was a concert of classical rather than chamber music. It wasn't until several years later when I began to attend local English country dances in East Greenbush and in Troy that I actually met John. In the years that followed, I was fortunate to sometimes partner with him at the Stockade Assembly, at the Dance Flurry, and at monthly Capital English dances. But it was during 16 years of dancing at Union College on Friday nights that our friendship really developed. From late summer 2001 until December of 2017, a fluctuating group of dancers assembled in Union's dance studio, which was located on the floor below my office in the Visual Arts Department. Although initially a free-form session, the evenings gradually evolved into informal teaching and ball preparation workshops. And John became a regular, coming the short distance from his home on nearby Lenox Road. During those 16 years, John played two important roles: as unobtrusive coach and model to the dancers, and as mentor to fledgling dance leader Steve Sargent. As a longtime dancer, he gently coached other dancers, especially the newer ones, while we all strengthened our dance skills, explored the repertoire, practiced for balls, and thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. As Steve emerged as teacher and caller, John, the music master, was a mentor, ever helpful with tactful, sometimes wry offhand comments and suggestions on counting the beats and steps, rhythmic issues, and correct musical phrasing. And of course, he was a warm and wonderful presence. To prepare these remarks, I contacted the Friday Nighters, asking for their comments and recollections of John, and a number of them responded. And a number of them are here, actually. I see about half a dozen. So without attribution, here are their voices. John was always ready to help, but having worked with so many people over the years, he knew that the minimalist approach worked best, and the give and take of the Union Ball Prep workshop was well suited to that. In the studio and on the floor, we related to him as another dancer, rather than as a prominent figure in the folk music world. He came to so many Friday nights, perhaps because he felt part of the group that assembled there for so many years, and which accepted him as a truly beloved member and also as a regular. It was a thrill to have him there and heartwarming. We all felt that personally. As a dancer, John was rock solid, always on the music. His firm hands and personal warmth generated a strong connection. He was there to enjoy the party, and when he came to our dance, there was no pressure on him to perform. It was his night out, and his chance to laugh and smile with the rest of us, and crack jokes and make snarky comments. Like the traveling minstrel, he stopped in for a time at the local village dance, enjoyed it, and then moved on. For him, Friday night offered the freedom to hear music and dance, and he liked the kidding around as much as anybody. John would sometimes break into song when we were dancing to old English tunes that had lyrics. And he was fun to dance with. He was merry, full of jokes and funny songs. It was pure delight to listen to him sing. I felt like a graceful, experienced English country dancer whenever I danced with John. Sometimes he looked like a leprechaun with a twinkle in his eye, and he sang in a rough but melodious voice. He always looked like he was having fun and enjoying himself and life in a way that not many people enjoyed life. On May 25th, 2011, Brooke Friendly, even then a nationally known caller, came here to lead an evening of dance at Union. I have always remembered a telling incident from this visit. As Brooke's hostess, I suggested while she was getting settled that after the dance I could invite a few people, including John Roberts, to my place for drinks. Her expression changed, and she replied, a bit starstruck, "The John Roberts?" And so, Brooke still recalls meeting John and spending a relaxed and a congenial late evening with him and a few other happy dancers drinking beer in my living room on a warm May night 14 years ago. Today, the Friday night dancers are scattered far and wide. Arizona, Georgia, Thailand. But they all retain happy memories of those Friday nights of John Roberts, a dancer, mentor, and especially a friend from just around the corner. Thank you.
Thank you for all those lovely things. Well, we're going to get to hear John in a moment, and I'm just going to give an introduction to this recording. I thought I'd mention that now so you could find some Kleenex someplace or something. When Noel Sing We Clear stopped touring, Fred and Tony and John and I kept meeting on Zoom. I remember pretty much weekly when we could, missing an occasional week, and those were just wonderful check-ins. We had these Noel Zoom meetings. And when Tony died in 2022, January, and that all happened so fast, we continued to keep in touch with John on our frequent Zoom calls. And when the church where Tony was a member, along with some of us here, put on a memorial for Margaret Dale Barron and Tony Barron, who were both phenomenal presences in our local community. They were national presence, Tony and John, but Margaret Dale was a hero in her own right as an educator and new generations of families in the area. So we put on a memorial, but John could not come. He was unable to be there. So John brought up the subject of, well, I could sing something and send it over. I'd like to do that. And so he did. He prepared in his home studio some remarks which were apropos at the time, and he also added this song, and I remember him running it by Fred and me online and wondering if it was appropriate. And I think we were encouraging it. It was one of the first songs, John said, that he and Tony worked out. I think they might have learned it from Michael Cooney. It's simply called Thyme, and it has a number of layers of meaning. And I now given you enough time to find some tissue. So I present, here's John Roberts. He recorded this for his singing partner, Tony, and a gathering in Tony's honor in May of 2022. technology also means take a break.
We'll do it the sort of easy way, not fun.
Tony and I first met in 1968 when we each came to Cornell as graduate students in psychology, and each of us discovered that we weren't the only Englishmen there. Well, we wound up with a couple of other friends sharing an apartment, and we discovered a mutual interest in folk music of different kinds. But we started singing together, and one of the things that we discovered we could do was English folk songs in two-part harmony, with Tony singing the lead, usually, and me singing a bass harmony, usually, and that seemed to work pretty well. We started singing around, and singing, we got invited to folk festivals, we got invited to all sorts of things, and had a career in folk music that lasted for 50 years. As that 50-year mark grew closer, I thought it would be a good idea for us to do a 50th anniversary concert. And so we started thinking about that. As it got closer, Tony, who by then was in a wheelchair, he'd still got more energy than I did, but it wasn't quite as much as he had before. But he was up for the idea, and gradually we put a program together. And when we did perform it, thanks to the Brattleboro Music Centre in September of 2019, Tony just shone at the event. He'd always loved an audience, he loved to be in front of an audience, and he shone. I was so proud of him in that concert. And that, to me, was the crowning thing of 50 years together. I'm going to sing you a song that we did in our early days when I was still playing guitar. Over the years, we pared down to a couple of concertinas and a banjo to tour. But this is one that we put on our first album. I know Livia likes this, so this one's for you, Liv. Time brings all things to an end. a garden fair and let no man steal your bonny bunch of time. For time, it is a precious thing. Time brings all things to your mind. Time with all its labors, along with all its joys, and its time brings all things to an end. Rest in peace, Tony.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katy German. I'm the director of the Country Dance and Song Society, currently. There are some former directors among us as well. So it was really exciting when I heard that the committee had selected John. Each year, people far and wide submit nominations for the Lifetime Contribution Award, and the board has a committee that reviews them, and it's a great honor to read all of the memories and the tributes that people send in, and it's a hard job. It's a difficult choice. There are so many beautiful, wonderful people out there that have given so much. But when I heard it was John, I was really, really happy. I didn't know John well, not like you all did, but I do remember him. 25 years ago, I was working in the CDSS office at Pinewoods. And I was attending my first ever English week, including my first ever pub night at English week. And John and Tony were there, and oh my goodness, it was the standard by which I hold all pub nights to, and will for the rest of my life. John and Tony were incredible, just vivacious and lively, and their joy was infectious, and I bought all the CDs with the $4 that I made that summer, and I cherish that memory. I'm very glad that I got that overlap with him, because he was clearly dear to many people. So knowing that I didn't know him very well, when I started thinking about this event coming up, I started asking people that I knew what they knew about John, what they thought of him, what did they remember. And everything has already been said, but what people said over and over again was how he was so talented and so humble, but he made everyone around him better. And not by pressure and not by, feeling like you should be better, but by just making them feel comfortable and a part of something special. The music that he played made the dancers better. The songs that he sang encouraged everybody to sing. It's amazing to hear that over and over and over again. Our current board president is David Smuckler, who's here somewhere. Hi, David. David said something, I'm not going to say it right, you'll have to correct me later, but he said something that kind of stuck with me not long ago, that it's beautiful. What we love about traditional music, and I think what John also loved about it, was how it connects you to the past. You feel you're experiencing something, you're creating something that has been around long before you were ever here, and it feels very special, that connection. But what David said was, and if we do it right, if we take care of these things that have been given to us and passed down to us, we're also connected to the future. And that's something that's harder to imagine because we don't know what the future looks like. But John touched so many lives, and the people that talked about him to me and shared their stories, they were his contemporaries, they were my age, they were people who were 20 years younger than me, who weren't even born during that English pub night. He mentored and helped and taught and inspired so many people. So I think John did it right. I think he connected us both to the past and to the future, and I'm very, very grateful for all that he gave. So here's why we scheduled this event to begin with. The Lifetime Contribution Award. This is a Noel Matawi tile, if you know. And we try to select people who have had broad geographic and generational impact. And John definitely fits that bill. So I'm going to read what the award says, and then I'm going to turn it over to Lisa. On behalf of the membership of the Country Dance and Song Society, I, the Executive Director, and our governing board are pleased to honor John Roberts with a CDSS Lifetime Contribution Award in recognition of his lifelong impact on traditional dance, music, and song communities as a singer, song collector, historian, accompanist, teacher, and mentor. We are immeasurably grateful for all that he gave to us. Thank you, John.
I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick and the wind song and the white sail shaking, and the grey mist on the sea's face, and the grey dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gulls' way and the whales' way, where the wind's like a wet knife. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream,
Thank you, Lisa. A tradition of the sea when someone takes their last watch is the ringing of 8 bells. We don't have a bell, but we have technology. After this, please move to the food area and eat, refresh yourselves, but also say hello to old and new friends alike. And we'll come back for the concert with John, and we'll pick it up a notch. But thank you everyone so far. So
No food in this room.
No food in this room. Thank you.
You don't know who you're looking at, so take a look at me. I'm a bit of a knob, you know, belong to royalty. I'll tell you how we came about. I'm married with a birch. I was King of England when I toddled out of church. Outside the neighbours they were shouting hip hooray. Said I get down upon your knees, it's coronation day, and I'm Henry the Eighth, I am Henry the Eighth, I am. Married to the widow next door. She's been married 7 times before. Everyone was an Henry. Wouldn't have a Willie or a Sam. No, Sam. I'm an 8th old man, I'm Henry. Henry the 8th I am. Last week the undertaker came and to me wife did say, well, have you any orders, mum? We're rather slack today. I backed off all the other 7 for the pearly gates. Let's have £1 upon account for Henry the 8th. He measured me up with his half a yard of string, but I got on me marrow bones. I sang, God save the King, and I'm Henry the 8th I am. Henry the 8th I am. I got married to the widow next door. She's been married 7 times before, and everyone was an Henry. You wouldn't have a Willie or a Sam. No, Sam. I'm an 8th old man, I'm Henry. Henry the 8th I am. Now this is a verse that John sang, not often sung, but he sang it, and he gives a mention to a fella named Charlie Peace. And Charlie Peace was a real character. In the early days of Queen Victoria, he was a notorious bandit and murderer. He murdered lots of people, did Charlie Peace. Now at the Waxworks exhibition, not so long ago, I was sitting among the kings, I made a lovely show. To good old Queen Elizabeth I shouted, watch her Liz. While people broke me ribs and said, I wonder who this is. One said it's Charlie Peace, and then I got the spike and shouted, show your ignorance as waxy as you like. And I'm Henry the 8th I am. Henry the 8th I am. I got married to the widow next door. She's been married 7 times before, and everyone was an Henry. Henry. Wouldn't have a Willie or a Sam. No Sam. Henry the 8th I am. Well, I'm Henry the 8th I am. Henry the 8th I am. I got married to the widow next door. She's been married 7 times before, and everyone was an Henry. Wouldn't have a Willie or a Sam. I'm a right old man, I'm Henry. Henry the Eighth, Henry the Eighth. This is the way John ended it. We'll do the ending again, because only John did the ending like this. Henry the Eighth, Henry the Eighth, Henry the Eighth. I am. There you go. And thank you to Maestro Andy.
Hi everyone. My name is Lauren. As many of you know, my dad Fred toured with John for 40 years in Noel Sing We Clear. So John's singing and music making has been part of what has defined the sound of folk music for me since before I was born. And I know, like many of you, Noel Sing We, for me, the Noel Sing We Clear is really the soundtrack of the holiday season. And they introduced many generations of people to this incredible repertoire of carols and weird and wonderful folk traditions. And John and of course Tony live on as people continue to sing these songs with their families in caroling parties, at pub sings, in concerts. And for all of us in Windborne, John is so deeply present as we sing the songs that we learned from Noel. And of course, we hear his iconic voice and his creative bassline harmonies, but you can't think of John as a performer without also remembering his humor and his antics, as a lot of other people have alluded to. And we were talking earlier about how when Noel would perform Kris Kringle, John would always try to get a few extra thumps on the bass drum by kicking it beside him. And I always loved how he would always come up with these great quippy one-liners to sort of interject when Tony was holding forth as the history professor. So we do hope that you will raise your voices with us as we sing the Boar's Head Carol.
The boar's head in hand bear ivy decked with bays and rosary, and I pray you, my masters, be merry, quod esti sin convivio. Caput abride ferore, dens laudes Domino. Caput abride ferore, dens laudes Domino. The boar's head, as I understand, is the rarest dish in all the land, which thus be decked with a gay garland, let us servire cantico. Caput abride ferore, dens laudes Domino. Caput abride ferore, dens laudes Domino. A boar, it is a sovereign beast, acceptable at every feast. So let this boar be to most and least ad omnis delectatio. Caput abride ferore, dens laudes Domino. Caput abride ferore, dens laudes Domino. Our steward hath provided this in honor of the King of Bliss, which on this day to be served is in regientia trio. Caput abride ferore, There, of course, was the Mummers play that ended all of the Noel, or first halves. And this, I believe, John told me, was 15 or 20 years of how they used to end it and make their exit to go change into the ribbons. So please sing along. It apparently was written, it's a modern composition, about one of the less populated of the Mummers plays, which is two characters. The kids would walk in, one would kill the other, resurrect him, and say, "Rise up, Jock, and sing your song. Now give us drink and money." So. In the pleasant air, the birds were singing in the trees, and the weather, it was fair. So I stopped for a while to rest my back at the foot of a shady oak. By there came a band of men with their faces black as smoke. And it's rise up, Jock, and sing your song, for the summer is short and the winter long. Let's all join hands and form a chain till the leaves of springtime bloom again. Now the first to come in was a soldier with his rifle in his hand. He just returned from fighting wars in many's a distant land, and he left his regiment sleeping at the foot of a foreign hill. He's returned to England for to kill or to be killed. And it's rise up, Jock, and sing your song, for the summer is short and the winter long. Let's all join hands and form a chain till the leaves of springtime bloom again. Now the next to come in was a sailor who'd just returned from the sea. He'd sailed away 7 long years till at last he was set free. At evening as the sun went down, they anchored by the shore. He's returned to England for to fight one battle more. And it's rise up, Jock, and sing your song, for the summer is short and the winter long. Let's all join hands and form a chain till the leaves of springtime bloom again. In the middle of the forest, where the blackbird sweep to sing, the soldier and the sailor took their place inside a ring. And when the battle started, they went at it blow by blow. When the battle ended down, their backs of blood did flow. And it's rise up, Jock, and sing your song, for the summer is short and the winter long. Let's all join hands and form a chain till the leaves of springtime bloom again. Now a chimney sweep and a doctor came a-walking arm in arm. And when they saw the bodies there, they showed no alarm. For the doctor, he'd been traveling through Italy, France, and Spain, and he had in his bag a tiny flask to ease their ache and pain. And it's rise up, Jock, and sing your song, for the summer is short and the winter long. Let's all join hands and form a chain till the leaves of springtime bloom again. Now he gave a drink to the soldier who rose up from the ground, and he began to sing his song to pass the bottle round. And the same sailor up from the ground, as sure as he was born, and the soldier, the sailor, the doctor, and the sweep, they danced into the dawn. And it's rise up, Jock, and sing your song, for the summer is short and the winter long. Let's all join hands and form a chain till the leaves of springtime bloom again. And it's rise up, Jock, and sing your song, for the summer is short and the winter long. Let's all join hands and form a chain till the leaves of springtime bloom again. And it's rise up, Jock, and sing your song, for the summer is short and the winter long. Let's all join hands and form a chain till the leaves of springtime bloom again.
Well, to bring the season back around to where we are now, I'm going to sing a song that I sung as part of a May show that I put together with John. We did it maybe 91 and 92, a couple of years up in Saratoga. And it was really nice. I kind of added some early, some of the more historical, popular early music elements, and John added his more traditional. The first year we did it with a couple of early music players, and then the second year we asked Tony to join us, so we did it as a trio. Now the winter is gone and the summer has come on, and the meadows look pleasant and gay. I spied a pretty fair maid, and so sweetly sang she, as she gathered her arms full of May. Where are you going, my fair pretty maid, all in the morning so soon? Oh, the maid, she replied, for to gather some May, for the trees are all now in full bloom. Shall I go with you, my fair pretty maid, through the fields and the meadows so gay? Oh no, kind sir, she said, I would rather be excused, for I fear you would lead me astray. Then he caught hold of her lily white hand, through the meadows they wandered away. Then he placed her down upon the green mossy bank, whilst he gathered his arms full of May. And when she rose, she gave him a smile, and thanked him for what he had done. Then he planted a sprig of May upon her lily white breast, where there never grew a thorn, not a one. 'Twas early next morning he made her his bride, so the world could have nothing to say. did sing, and he crowned her the Queen of the May.
While we're getting the microphones organized here, we're going to play, as I think it says in the program, a tune called Trunkles, which Jim remembers John playing for the Albemarle Morrismen at an ale, a Marlborough Morris ale, when he was pressed into service as a musician for them.
So, wasn't that clever of us?
What, to get him to play? Or to play trumpets?
No, not us. The Albemarle Morris men, who were a little bit short on numbers, asked John to play for us that weekend, whenever it was, 10 or 12 years ago. And it was a great weekend. And it was great because we were hanging with John all weekend.
Ready?
Yep.
Earlier this afternoon, I mentioned that the last time I saw John was at the Essex Maritime Festival last year, and this is the little song that he asked me to show him, the two-finger style. He had never played it before, and bless his little fingers, he just picked the thing up, and within a half hour he was doing it. It was just amazing, just incredible. And the song that I was showing him was Libba Cotton's version of Shake Sugary, which it's got a funny title. Shake Sugary actually meant that on the floor in Appalachia they would sprinkle sugar on the floor so that you could dance easier, you could slide around on it. And how it ever ended up as the title of this song is a little strange, because she grew up in a very poor farming community in North Carolina, and she had parents who had to sell off everything, and that's how she ended up writing Shake Sugary. So how the title ever fit in, I'm not too sure.
that I could lose. Oh, Lordy me, didn't I shake sugar me? Everything I got is done in pawn. Got a little song, won't take long. Sing it right once or twice. Oh, Lordy me, didn't I shake sugar me? Everything I got is done in pawn. Everything I got is done in pawn.
This is absolutely terrifying, and it's all Robert's fault. I don't know this song. I wrote it. And then I forgot it. John made a hit out of it. And Lisa said, "Will you sing it?" And I said, "Oh shit." Which is what you say in a case like that. 2 cents worth of backstory. Enough of you know the chorus. I'm not going to bother to teach how it works. If you don't figure it out, that's all right. I haven't figured the song out either. About a mile from here, there's a little bit of an inlet in the Mohawk River. That's all that's left of what once was an arm of the river called Benikill. And that was the waterfront of Schenectady, which built boats to carry cargo west along Mohawk River long before there was an Erie Canal. In 1792, General Philip Schuyler and a banker and a businessman and a carpenter, a millwright, and a surveyor, and 3 boatmen all went west in a big bateau, just a big heavy-duty rowboat, to chart the Western Inland Lock Navigation Company, which did not become the Erie Canal. It went bust, but then the Erie Canal came along. In 1992, a group of people here in Schenectady said, let's commemorate that. So they did, along with a group of people at the New York State Museum who had built a replica bateau, which they launched right there in that little dip in the Mohawk River. This song was written for that occasion, and the important part of it all is that in researching what went on, Phil Lord, the historian, came up with a list of the alcohol that they had taken with them on this journey. It is a very good thing that the Mohawk River runs only east-west. If the option had been east-west, north, or south, we might have wound up in Florida or Hudson's Bay. I have no idea how they made it. If it doesn't lift your spirits, it'll leave you dumb. Best cure for the river is a bottle of rum. Best cure for the river is a bottle of rum. Oh, up the river in a three-hand boat. Too deep to carry, too shallow to float. Too deep to carry, too shallow to... Best cure for the river doesn't lift your spirits, it'll leave you numb. Best cure for the river is a bottle of rum. Best cure for the river is a bottle of rum. I'll listen to the forwarder strutting up the quay, quick to tell his boatman how the river will be. Got to tell his boatman how the river will be. Forwarder, it doesn't lift your spirits, it'll leave you numb. Best cure for the forwarder's a bottle of rum. Best cure for the forwarder's a bottle of rum. Oh, let me see, sweating in the heat of day, chilling in the rain, sleeping in the open, got the ague again. Sleeping in the open, got the ague again. Ague, if it wasn't lift your spirits, it will leave you numb. Best cure for the ague is a bottle of rum. Best cure for the ague is a bottle of rum. Oh, goodness. Holding up the rift, the current swung her round. Bedbug swum ashore, poor boatman nearly got drowned. Bedbug swum ashore, poor boatman nearly got drowned. If it doesn't lift your spirits, it'll leave you bedbugs. Best cure for bedbugs is a bottle of rum. Best cure for bedbugs is a bottle of rum. Frostbite in November took my toes away. Devil take the black fly about the last week in May. Devil take the black fly about the last week in May. If it doesn't lift your spirits, it'll leave you black fly. Best cure for black fly is a bottle of rum. Best cure for black fly is a bottle of rum. Sweet Annie of Schenectady, she broke my heart. Her face is in the firelight, the river sings her part. Face is in the firelight, the river sings her part. If it doesn't lift your spirits, it'll leave. Best cure for a woman, best cure for a woman is a bottle of rum. Best cure for a woman is a bottle of rum. Did he learn anything? No, he didn't. There's a callus on my shoulder and my hands are raw. Seen a sight some thirsty frontier maid ever saw. Sweetest sight some thirsty frontier maid ever saw. If it doesn't lift your spirits, it'll leave. Best cure for wisdom, best cure for wisdom is a bottle of rum. Best cure for wisdom is a bottle of rum. I fought all through this wilderness in '59. Still fancy I see shadows moving time after time. Fancy I see shadows moving time after time. If it doesn't lift your spirits, it'll leave you numb. Shadows. Best cure for shadows is a bottle of rum. Only cure for shadows is a bottle of rum. Morning comes up early for a fast bateau. Shoulder to your setting pole, you push off and go. Shoulder to your setting pole, you push off and go. This one's weird. Doesn't lift your spirits, it'll leave you. Ain't no cure for living, ain't no cure for living in a bottle of rum. Ain't no cure for living in a bottle. Do that chorus once again. If it doesn't lift your spirits, it'll leave you numb. Ain't no cure for living in a bottle of rum. Ain't no cure for living in a bottle of rum.
Don't take that away. Yeah.
You know, this is kind of fun to sing. I think I'll learn it. Oops. What I do is such as that.
That's a good thing.
All right, so as the final microphone adjustments are made here, we're very happy to be here. We're Curragh, and we had the pleasure of playing with John for more than a decade. We play Irish traditional music, and I still remember when Peter Jones called me up and said, "Hey, what do you think about inviting John Roberts to be in our band?" And of course what I said was, "Wow, that would be amazing," but in my head I was thinking, John Roberts is not going to want to play with us. But he did. And so we were very fortunate for more than a decade. So at Lisa's request and for John, I'm going to start us off with an air, traditional Irish air, lament called The Dear Irish Boy. John, of course, was English and Welsh, but he's an honorary Irishman as far as we're concerned. So give me just a minute, I'll get set up and then we'll give it a go. Okay.
So the other night we were at practice and talking about this and swapping stories about John, as you can imagine, and there were some laughs, and we've heard a lot of them today, but the one that stuck in my head the most, we were playing in Boston for St. Patrick's weekend on a boat, and this two sons came up and said their mother was from Wales, and did you by chance know this song? And John looked at him and said, yes. And so we went on with our set, and he, his time came around, and it's like, okay, so he sang this song, and she was crying. But at the end, he looked at us and he goes, I haven't sang that in 30 years. But it was a great time. So anyways, I'm going to start this off with some reels, but it was a pleasure having you.
What?
We're going to play a few jigs now, which were John's favorite set of anything we do. So, calling this John's jig set.
Hello, my name's Cliff Haslam, and like John and Tony, I came to America, I was about 22 years old, just a young lad, and I was a manufacturing engineer. I worked in the manufacturing industry over here for many years, over 50 years or more. And so I was only come for 3-4 years, and then thought, make some money and go back England. But 58 years later, I'm still here. So it took me a while. I lived in New Haven, Connecticut, and I still live in that area there. And it took me a while to find folk clubs in England. They're all in pubs. Over here, in coffee houses. So anyway, after, so I did find a coffee house after a while. I just kind of started in England, just like John had, in the local folk clubs, singing a couple of songs. These used to be called floor singers. That's how most people got started singing over in England, as a floor singing. They'd have a middle set and break, and then they'd have about 3 or 4 people get up and do 1 or 2 songs. And it's kind of sound like what John did too. So, and in 1969, my life changed. I always can't associate John without Tony. They're like Siamese twins, you know what I mean? John and Tony do it. So, anyway, on I think 1969, I attended my first Fox Hollow festival, and I'm sure some people here remember those years. And so, after the main concert, everybody repairs back to the campgrounds. That's what you did then. You camped. Camping to me these days is Motel 6, I'm telling you. And so we prepared back to the campgrounds and formed a big circle there, and it was dark and you couldn't see anybody. And so one by one, somebody sing. And nobody knew who they were, because this is the first time we're meeting everybody, So then we met John and Tony, David Jones, Sara Grey, and just many, many other people. So that kind of started my singing over here much more. I learned all the songs from John and Tony, all the drinking songs and sea shanties and stuff, and so I've had a great gig for over 50 years now at a historic hill inn in Connecticut called the Griswold Inn. And for over 50 years it's been a Monday night, and through the years had a good following of people. And these people I've passed the songs on from John and Tony down to my regular people. And so one night a group of these people went to see John and Tony, and they came back the next week and said, Cliff, they were singing all your bloody songs. I'm sorry to tell you, that's what I learned the songs from. And so, from there, it was just great. It seemed like every other weekend we're heading to some music event or some festival, and John and Tony, we all started to know each other. Oh, that was you singing that night, that was you singing that night. So we all got to kind of know each other at Fox Hollow, so that's changed my life and I'm still here after 58 years singing away, and got me to be lots of people and started doing concerts and festivals and stuff. So it was a great gig. So I'm going to sing a song called "Shove Around the Jug," which is more like a topical song from around here. It's about a young lad from Ireland, settled in New York State, and worked on the canals all his life. And it's got a good chorus. You may know it. It's called "Shove Around the Jug." We tell the ladies at the Griswold Inn to shove around the jug, so that's what makes it a lot of fun,
Shove around the jug, me boys, chorus around the room, with the boys that fear no noise, although we're far from home. I courted the girl in Albany. Thanks to a couple of regulars back there too. Courted the girl in Albany, one in Montreal, one in Philadelphia, but the best in Lewiston Falls. So shove around the jug, me boys, chorus around the room, with the boys that fear no noise, There's none at all to be compared with the ones from Lewiston Falls. So shove around the jug, me boys, chorus around the room, with the boys that bear no noise, all the way far from home. When I came on from Ireland, I was just a lad, but working these canal boats is the only life I've had. So shove around the jug, me boys, chorus around the room, with the boys that bear no noise, all the way far from home. $1 in the tavern is very easily spent. I had it in Ireland, I'd have to pay down rent. So shove around the jug, me boys, chorus around the room, with the boys that bear no noise, all the way far from home. Amsterdam or Liverpool, Rome or Syracuse, you'd ever been to Lewiston Falls, the only place you choose. So shove around the jug, me boys, chorus around the room, with the boys that bear no noise, all the way far from home. A drunkard in the tavern, a fish is in the sea, the cork is in the bottle, but the whiskey is in me. So shove around the jug, me boys, chorus around the room, with the boys that bear no noise, all the way far from home. Oh, shove around the jug, me boys, chorus around the room, with the boys that bear no noise, all the way far from home. Thank you.
My name is Deborah Cowan, and I had the honor and pleasure, but honor, of working with John for 11 years. And there are so many stories, because we were on the road a lot, we traveled a lot. And I guess one thing I could say is that whenever we were in an airport and going through security, I always went through first. And the reason for that is because I knew that after I got screened and I picked up all my stuff, I would hear a concertina playing. Because they always asked John to play whatever that thing was that was in the little square box that he had put through the X-ray. I really can't add to what's been said, except he was a dear, dear friend. And my husband, who is not a folkie at all, loved John a lot. And John had an affection for my husband as well. But I knew that things, you know, one of the things, whenever we went to an Indian restaurant, John would always get the lamb rogajosh. And that was how we would judge how good the restaurant was. If the Rogan Josh, if the lamb Rogan Josh was good, he knew he was in a good Indian restaurant. So one time John was staying with us, and my husband decided to make a lamb Rogan Josh. And after John had had a few bites, he looked at Kevin and he said, That has got to be the best lamb rub and josh I've ever had. John was also a very polite person. This is a song that I've been singing for almost 40 years. I first heard it off of a Mick Maloney recording, and Lisa specifically asked me to sing this. And last summer at the Essex Sea Music Festival during John's solo set, he sang this song as a solo. We used to sing it together. But the cool thing is the connection between his work with Mick Maloney and how I first heard this song 40 years ago from Mick Maloney, and somehow it all came together. You'll know what to do. We sail for St. Brendan's Fair Isle, Fair Isle. We sail for St. Brendan's Fair Isle. We sail for St. Brendan's Fair Isle, Fair Isle. We sail for St. Brendan's Fair Isle. When I was a lad on the Emerald Isle, heard many stories, both lovely and wild, about the great monsters and dragons that be, that swallow the ships when they sail on the sea. Though I was an artist with canvas and paint, sailed for St. Brendan in his jolly saints. We told the good people goodbye for a while. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle, Fair Isle. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle, Fair Isle. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle. We fed on the ocean for 94 days, came to a spot where the sea was ablaze. Those demons from Hades, dancing with glee, were burning the sailors alive on the sea. Then St. Brendan walked on the blistering waves, threw all those demons right back to their caves. And all of the saints wore a heavenly smile. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle, Fair Isle. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle, Fair Isle. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle. One night while the brethren were lying asleep, a great dragon came up from under the deep. He thundered, he lightning, made a great din. He awakened St. Brendan and all of his men. The dragon came on with his mouth open wide. We threw in a cross and the great dragon died. We skinned him, we cooked him, we feasted a while. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle, Fair Isle. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle, Fair Isle. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle. At last we came on to that beautiful land. We all went ashore and we walked on the sands. We took our long bows, we killed us a bull, we roasted him up and had hot barbecue. And after a while we were singing a song. We noticed the island was moving along. We ate and we drank and we rode in high style. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle, Fair Isle. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle, Fair Isle. We sailed for St. Brendan's Fair Isle. Says Brendan, me boys, this is much to my wish. We ride on the back of the world's biggest fish. Hold fast to the ropes that are pulling the ship. We'll need them someday if this fish takes a dip. We'll sail every ocean, we sailed every sea, sailed every spot that a sailor
In 44 days we sailed 10 miles. We sailed to St. Brendan's Fair Isle, Fair Isle. We sailed to St. Brendan's Fair Isle. We sailed to St. Brendan's Fair Isle, Fair Isle. We sailed to St. Brendan's Fair Isle. We sailed to St. Brendan's Fair Isle, Fair Isle. We sailed to St. Brendan's Fair Isle.
Thank you. I was trying to remember when I first met John. I know it was sometime between 35 and 40 years ago, but you know, that was a while ago. And I was pretty sure it was at one of the 4 important events that happened in the spring, from the Memorial Day Folk Music Society of New York weekend to the then Sea Music Festival at Mystic, and then into Clearwater, and then culminating with the Old Songs Festival. So I knew it was at one of them, but I could not remember which. Listening to John and Tony for many, many years, and then always shopping at the Folk Legacy booth at the Old Songs Festival. Caroline and Sandy Payton knew what I loved, and one day Caroline drags me over and says, "You need this album." And it was Dark Ships of the Forest, which is, I can't say it's my favorite, it's one of my favorites because I have too many favorites. And I have stolen many, many songs from John and Tony over the years. And I have to say, I've had a great deal of pleasure working with John the last 7.5, almost 8 years at Old Songs, and listening to him upstairs in our house with Chris yelling at the Liverpool football game. So the one thing on Dark Ships in the Forest that struck me more than any other was a ballad that ended very differently from all the others. So it has a refrain, so I know you're going to sing it. There once was a fair maid I dearly adored. Her beauty it did shine clear, oh, and all she could find for to ease her sad mind was to wander alone on the shore, oh shore, was to wander alone on the shore. And there was a sea captain who plowed the salt seas. He had sailed the salt seas all around, oh, this beautiful maiden he chanced for to spy. Don't I wish that I had her on board, oh board, don't I wish that I had her on board. The steward he ran and he lowered the boat, and quickly he rowed it to shore, oh, and these were the very first words he did say: "Fair maid, won't you venture on board, oh board? Fair maid, won't you venture on board?" With coaxing, persuading, she entered the boat, and quickly he rowed it on board, oh. Our captain, he smiled and spat out his chew, saying, "Fare you well, sorrow and care, oh care," saying, "Fare you well, sorrow and care." The captain, he poured out the richery wine that sparkled so bright and so clear, oh, saying, "First you will lie in my arms all this night, and then I'll hand you to my crew, oh crew, and then I'll hand you to my crew." "Oh, thank you," this maiden replied. "It's just what I've been waiting for, oh, for I've grown so weary of my maidenhead, as I wander alone on the shore, oh shore, as I wander alone on the shore. She sat herself down in the stern of the ship. Her voice was so fair and so clear, oh, she sang them so sweet, so neat and complete. She sang captain and sailor to sleep, oh sleep. She sang captain and sailor to sleep. She robbed them of silver, she robbed them of gold. She robbed them of costlier ware, oh. Our captain's bright sword she used for an oar, to row herself back to the shore, oh shore, for to row herself back to the shore. Oh, were my men crazy, or were they all drunk, or were they sunk deep in despair, oh, to see her get away with her beauty so gay? Don't I wish that I had her once more, oh more? Don't I wish that I had her once more? And yonder she stands all alone on the strand, oh, waving her handkerchief fair, oh, saying you are the captain who sails the salt sea. And I'm still the maid on the shore, oh shore, and I'm still the maid on the shore. Thank you.
Boy, we have great sound technicians here, I must say. Let's give these guys a hand.
Yeah, I'm married to one of
them. My husband ran a folk club down in New York City. Dan Milner was his name. And he ran the Eagle Tavern for 10 years, 500 concerts in 10 years. And John and Tony were many times there, and whenever they came, they packed the house. And it was always a lot of fun, and you could expect a good time. I won't waste a lot of words on it. I wanted to say thank you for those of you who danced out in the courtyard. Yes. We didn't have the bells, but they were ringing in my ears anyway. All right, we're going to do I Courted a Girl. No, that other guy. My lotus lady, I'll see no more. Away, boys, away, oh. Since I left her on the China shore. Away, boys, lift and walk away. Away, boys, away, oh. Blow me down that Yangtze River. Away, boys, lift and walk away. When we first met, she was like a queen. Away, boys, away, oh. Prettiest little thing I'd ever seen. Away, boys, lift and walk away. Away, boys, away, oh. Blow me down that Yangtze River. Away, boys, lift and walk away. The sweetest flower, my Yangtze honey. Away, boys, away, oh. My own good gal, she spent my money. Away, boys, lift and walk away. Away, boys, away, oh. Blow me down that Yangtze River. Away, boys, lift and walk away. I bought her silks and an ivory comb. Away, boys, away, oh. Trouble's over, now the anchor's home. Away, boys, lift and walk away. Away, boys, away, oh. Blow me down that Yangtze River. Away, boys, lift and walk away. I blowed my silver for to win her. Away, boys, away, oh. Now there's nothing left but a donkey's dinner. Away, boys, lift and walk away. Away, boys, away,
blow me down that Yangtze River. Away, boys, lift and walk away.
We're outward bound, cookies in the galley.
Away, boys, away, oh.
Farewell, young moon of the Yangtze Valley.
Away, boys, lift and walk away. Away, boys, away, oh. Blow me down that Yangtze River. Away, boys, lift and walk away.
I said,
blow me down that Yangtze River. Away, boys, lift and walk away.
Thank you. Thank you. Of course, we got that from John, who had gotten it originally from Charlie. And we were so fortunate to have John at our Connecticut Sea Music Festival twice, the last time being last year. So lots of connections, both through the dancing, the singing, and the music. So it's been wonderful. Thank you, John.
Is the sun out? No.
The sun's setting.
That's good. Well, John and I go back many, many years. We're from Gloucester. He made a lot of trips out there. Been running a pub sing for the past 20, 25 years, doing shanties all over the place, and he made frequent visits out with us. And about 12 years ago, Audie and I got married. Prior to that, John and I were talking one time, and I said, would you like to be our best man? And he said, I've never been a best man. I said, you've always been a best man, but you didn't know it. But he was our best man at our wedding, but we had one of the best weddings in the world. It was incredible. So John has been a mainstay in so many people's lives. And a couple of years ago, we have an 11-year-old daughter, and he and Lisa got together and coerced us to start playing the fiddle, which was awesome. And Lisa put together a package of a 3/4 size fiddle, a new bow, and a case, and sent them out. And we got a fiddle player in the house now, which is awesome. So, but we've had some good times together, and it's great to be here. So,
I'm Audie. This is Peter. And we're going to do Frankie's Trade, which is about Sir Francis Drake, whose vessel was the Golden Hind. You might be familiar with that name, especially because it was also John and Tony's label. And if you search for John's music, you can find it at goldenhind.com, among other places, I believe. .com? I think so. So Frankie's Trade, please sing along. Old Horn to all Atlantic said, oh, hey, oh, to me, oh. Now where did Frankie learn his trade? For he ran me down with a 3-reef mainsail all around the Horn. Oh, that's going to change to sand shortly, but not right away. Atlantic answered not from me, oh, hey, oh, to me, oh. You'd better ask the cold North Sea, for he ran me down under full plain canvas all around the Horn. The North Sea answered, he's my man, oh, hey, oh, to me, oh. For he came to me when he began, it was Frankie Drake in an open coaster all around the sand. I caught him young and I used him sore, oh, hey, oh, to me, oh. So you never shall startle Frankie more without capsizing earth and all of her waters all around the sand. I did not favor him at all, oh, hey, oh, to me, oh. I made him pull and I made him haul and stand his trick with a common sailor all around the sand. I did not know. I froze him stiff and I fogged him blind. Oh, hey, oh, to me, me-oh, and kicked him on his road to find by what he could see in a 3-day snowstorm all around the sands. I learned him his trade o' winter nights, oh hey oh to me-oh, twixt Mardyke Fort and the Dunkirk lights on a 5-knot tide with the forts a-firing all around the sand. Before his beard began to shoot, oh hey oh to me-oh, I showed him the length of the Spaniard's foot, and I reckon he clapped the boot on it later all around the sands. If there's a trick which you can try, oh hey oh to me-oh, which he hasn't seen in time gone by, not once or twice, but 10 times over, all around the sand. If there's a risk which you can make, oh hey oh to me-oh, in which he wasn't used to take nigh every week in the way of his business, all around the sands. If you can teach him aught that's new, oh hey oh to me-oh, I'll give you Bruges and Newport too, and the 10 tall churches that stand between 'em, all around the sands. Oh, storm along, my gallant captains, all around the Horn.
This is another guy that lived in Gloucester at one point too. Sang with starboard list.
John, like so many singers, had a great love for the songs of Cyril Tawney. The rain softly falling, and the arguments no more. I can't hear him calling like I used to before. I came through the gateway, I heard the sergeant say, the big boys are coming, see their stands across the way. Well, the rain's softly falling, and the arguments no more. It was here that she told me, as she bade me goodbye, there's no one will miss you, not one half as much as I. My love will endure, dear, like a beacon in the squall, eternal as the Oggyman beneath the dockyard wall. Well, the rain's softly falling, and the Oggyman's no more. There we go.
Okay, a few more mic adjustments, and I'm going to have a whole list of people to thank here, one of them being this guy right here, Chris, on sound, and Axel. Axel, where are you? Axel's been doing the twiddling on the Josh, thank you very much for all your work on the recording, and Karen, and let's see, what do we have? All of the CDSS crew, thank you for making this happen. Also want to thank John, the custodian. I think he's gone, but with the church, the staff on the church, Lois and Don are in the kitchen, been helping out. And a reminder that there's food all packed up on the tables. Take it. We don't want to take anything home. Take it with you. Okay? I think that's it. And I also want to add a thank you to my fellow planning group members, Andy, Lisa, Alex, where are you, Alex? Way back there.
What are we going to do with all our free time now?
I don't know, I got so, now Arthur.
All right. Well, I imagine many of you have heard John sing this song over the years. It was a favorite that I definitely heard him sing many times, and please join us.
I'm just going to play along.
Clouds are upon the summer sky, there's thunder in the wind. Pull on, and homeward hie, nor give one look behind. Row on, another day may shine with brighter light. Ply the oars and pull away. There's dawn beyond the night. Bear where thou goest the words of love. Say all that words can say. Changeless affection, strength to prove, but speed upon the way. Row on, another day may shine with brighter light. Ply the oars and pull away. There's dawn beyond the night.
Like yonder river would I glide to where my heart would be. My bark should soon outsail the tide that wanders to the sea. Row on, another day may shine with brighter light. Ply the oars and pull away. There's dawn beyond the night. But yet a star shines constant still through yonder cloudy sky, and hope is bright my bosom fills from faith that cannot die. Row on, another day may shine with brighter light. Ply the oars and pull away. There's dawn beyond the night. Row on, God speed the way. Thou canst not linger here. Storms hang about at closing day. Tomorrow may be clear. Row on, another day may shine with brighter light. Ply the oars and pull away. There's dawn beyond the night. Clouds on
There's thunder in the wind. Pull on, and onward high. North, one road beyond. Row on, another day may shine with brighter light. Ply the oars and pull away. There's dawn beyond the night. Row on, another day may shine with brighter light. Ply the oars and pull away. There's dawn beyond the night. Safe home, everybody.